Out in the woods, shadows creep slow. Footprints deep where no man should go. Cold winds howl through hollers and brooks. Whispers of Bigfoot in the way it looks. Mist monsters and bullets in the night. Under a pale moon, strange glowing light. Truth out there like a blade it cuts. Mist monsters and bullets run 'em up.
And welcome back to Miss Monsters and Mullets. We're in part 2 with Old Bear. I tell you what, that first episode, that was wild. That was wild. But you were telling me offline that you have a lot more encounters. And I think with this episode, I'm going to just sit back, let you go into a little more of these, we'll call them aggressive encounters.
Okay.
So you start wherever you want.
The first time that I had an aggressive encounter, I was with my mentor. We had went to a place up in Greenbrier County near the Greenbrier Inn. And there was some Bigfoot. There was this one holler in particular. It really wasn't a holler, it was a huge horseshoe. And some hunters had gotten run out of there in the second week of buck season, which is in December. Now this year it had snowed quite a bit, and there was snow on. But when we got in there, the snow was starting to melt, because it usually doesn't. If you get snow in early December, it'll stay a day or two, maybe, and then it starts melting off. And that's what happened. We had went in there. I went in with my mentor. And, you know, this man was in his late 60s by this point. He's in great health. He was in better health than I was. And I was in my 20s. He could outwalk me any time of the day. And we went in there and we found some footprints in the snow. And we took pictures of them. And we went to the back of the hollow and never found anything but a few footprints. We didn't find any structures, no tree breaks, none of that stuff. So on the way out, our guard was down. And on the way out, he looked at me and he said, I'm going to walk over here. You go up there and see if that trackway goes past them boulders. I said, well, I need to go too. So I walked up there. Now, he never carried a gun. Never carried a firearm. Now, he deer hunted and stuff like that, carried a rifle, whatever. But when it came to Bigfoot, he never carried a gun. And I always did. At that time, I had a 44 Magnum on my hip. And I walked up, and I was maybe 75 feet from him. And I had my back to him. And he was talking to me, and I could hear him. And then he quit talking. Well, when I got done, I turned around, and he wasn't there. Now, I would have heard him walking off in the snow and the leaves, and because the snow was, you know, it was starting to freeze back up. The leaves were starting to freeze because it was getting colder. I think the high that day was like 35. And this was getting close to evening. So at that point, I ran down there to see if he walked off somewhere. And I'm screaming his name. He didn't walk off. I couldn't find any boot tracks. Didn't find anything. So he always told me, he said, if something happens, get out of here and get some help. Always go for help first. Don't try to find the other one. Go get help. You're going to need it. Yes, sir. He was more of like a grandfather than anything. And I went to a payphone because there wasn't cell phones. It wasn't a flip phone. It wasn't one of these smartphones. You had to go find a payphone on the side of the road. And
At this point, all the young kids are like, "What is he talking about? A payphone?"
Yeah. My grandchildren, I said, yeah, we used to have payphones. What's that?
Is that one of those things where the phone's attached to a cord?
Yeah. Yeah, and I can remember when I was a kid, you had to dial 7 numbers on a rotary dial.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
you didn't have to do the area code. You could do like the last number of the exchange and then the actual phone number. You only had to dial like 5 numbers if you was dialing in town.
Yeah. And so I called the state police. And I went back up there, told them what vehicle I was in, went back up there. And 2 troopers showed up. And they led me in. I led them in to where he was standing. And it's about 4:00 in the afternoon by this point. They showed up pretty quick, so they must have been in the area. And we went in there and got in there, and then a DNR officer showed up. He led me out of there. He said, yep, let the troopers do what they need to do. You need to come out here and give me a statement. Okay. So I went out. They took me in, fingerprinted me, checked me for gunpowder residue on my hands and my gun, checked to make sure it hadn't been fired, all this stuff. And I told them 4 different times the exact same story. I don't know what happened to him. He just kind of, I turned around, he wasn't there. And they took me back to my vehicle and told me, don't come back here again.
So without even finding it, like they didn't find anything and they just said, don't come back.
They saw his boot tracks and they saw the tracks from the Bigfoot that were in there.
Oh, so there were Bigfoot tracks.
Oh yeah, there was Bigfoot tracks everywhere.
Oh, that's right, because he said something about follow that trackway up to that boulder.
Yep. So
and they just closed the case?
Huh? They didn't close any
They
gates.
just closed it.
No, they didn't close it. They done an investigation, I guess. Because when he took me back to my truck, he said, you need to leave now. Get out of here, go home. Don't come back. If I see you back here, I'm arresting you. Okay, I'm leaving. I went home. 2 days later, I tried to get in there. I got ran out of there by a state trooper. Wouldn't let me get in there. So a week went by. I got there. I got a friend of mine to go with me, take my truck, drop me off before daylight. And I went in there armed. And I went looking for if I could find him. I owed it to his son and daughter. That's just me. I mean, I owed that to him. I went in and went down low on the hill, lower in the hollow, and found his hat at the mouth of a cave. Now, this cave is probably The opening was probably 6.5 feet tall, maybe 6'8" at the most. And I started in the cave and got a rock thrown at me from the dark. Couldn't see nothing. And got growled at. Not by one, by probably 2 or 3. And then they started slinging rocks at me. They were hitting me with the rocks. So I got out of the cave. I grabbed his hat and I started walking out there. I walked back to my truck. I put his hat on the front seat, walked back in there with a few canisters of something and set him off at the mouth of the cave, and then walked out and took his hat to his son. Never found him, but I found his hat. And that was it.
So they just kind of gave up on looking for him?
They quit looking before dark that day, and that's the last time they went looking for him.
Wow.
Yeah. Knew him for 5 years, and the man taught me everything I knew at that point.
And just nothing. Just that was it.
Never found anything of him. No. And like I said, this man had been chasing Bigfoot for between 40 and 50 years. Started when he was a teenager because he saw one.
You say this was in West Virginia?
Yeah.
Holy cow. Is this near where you had your encounters?
No.
Or your first
It's
encounter?
complete opposite side of the state. This is on where he disappeared was in the eastern part of the state, and where I had my first encounter was on the western side.
Do you ever go back to that area?
I've been back there 4 times and never have seen another footprint or anything in that all. Nothing. Deer all over the place, turkey all over the place, game everywhere, but no Bigfoot.
Do you think that when there's an encounter like this, that maybe the government goes in and clears the area?
Yeah.
'Cause you hear that. You hear about when somebody comes up or somebody gets hurt, you hear these reports of helicopters, black SUVs, things like that. And in some cases, even what sounds like a firefight.
Well, I can give you a very good illustration of what happened in Jackson County
Let's
here
hear
in
it.
West Virginia. The son of the farmer up in Marietta, Ohio, got offered a job here in West Virginia. They offered him $40 an hour. Well, he jumped all over that. Brought his girlfriend, come down here and went to work. They worked that kid 14, 15 hours a day, 6 days a week. But he was good at what he did. He ran equipment. It was what he was doing. You know, and he was 30 years old. And he was down here with a girl that he met up there in Ohio. And something happened on the job, or they got shut down for some reason. And is on the way home back to Ohio, his truck broke down out near Medina, near the Medina exit. Well,
I know where that's at.
Old farmer that I know that I used to deer hunt on years ago, when I was married to my son's mom, we used to deer hunt there, and I knew that property like the back of my hand because I hunted on it so many times. And we'd go out in the summer and help him and everything else. He saw these 2 kids sitting beside the interstate, and he The kid didn't, he had money, but the part wasn't going to be there. Somehow or another, he got a hold of somebody and they called and ordered the part for his truck. It was something to do with the fuel injection or something. I don't know what it was. But he told the kid that he could stay there on his place. Well, above his house, he had an old camper. One of them big old campers, probably 30 foot long, and everything worked in it. He kept it up. And heck, I'd slept in it a few times when I was younger, going out there deer hunting, come out on the first day of gun season and I'd sleep in it on Monday night, Tuesday night, and then go home on Wednesday because you got Thanksgiving coming up on Thursday. And he was very good friends with me. I love that old man. He's a great guy. His wife was an excellent cook. And they were always helping people.
Popular guy.
Anyway, he told them they could stay in the camper. So they went up there, stayed in the camper for 2 or 3 days, and were waiting on the part to come in. And he was supposed to pick it up at the post office. Farmer went up on a Wednesday. Now he'd met him on Sunday evening and let him stay in his camper Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night. And on Wednesday, he said he was going to the post office to check and see if the part was there. Well, his wife went with him. And whenever he left, it was about 10 o'clock in the morning. Well, they didn't get back that night until like 8 or 9 o'clock. So it's dark. And the part wasn't there. So they went inside, and I guess they had dinner or whatever went on and went to bed. Well, the next morning he got up and went up there to the camper. When he got up there, what he found was the door was ripped off the camper. There was blood inside of the camper. The pickup that the boy had, the steering wheel, the windshield was busted out of the truck. It was laying across the hood. The steering wheel was grabbed and ripped up out of the truck and was standing up where the windshield should have been. Couldn't find either one of them. So he went and made phone calls and had his neighbor, who knew me also, knew him for years, called me. And he said, "Hey, you know who's got trouble?" I said, "I'm on the way." When I showed up, there were state police, county sheriffs, DNR, and some questionable vehicles there. And they wouldn't let me on the property. Well, the next day, he calls me from Florida. They made him and his wife get on a plane and go to their daughters. So, from what I understood from a very good friend of mine that was on the scene, they found half of her up in a tree. They never found him.
What?
They found her in the dark because somebody got dripped on.
Wow.
At that point, they made the state police leave. The sheriffs, DNR, all of them were told to leave by these people. And the next day, they had some kind of fake construction on that road and had the road shut down. Couldn't go nowhere near his property. This man owned 250 acres. And he's always raised cattle. And the one that called me had cattle also. And he's on the backside of the hill. And that night, day 2 of this, that night, I was told by multiple people that live around there was automatic gunfire, and it wasn't little. It wasn't M16s. It wasn't M4s. It was automatic machine gun fire. So you can speculate as to what caliber or whatever they were using. And 2 blacked out helicopters arrived on scene and lit something up, was the way it was described. Tracer fire.
Wow.
They weren't playing any games. So at that point, evidently they had one of these creatures collared, and they tracked it to North Carolina. How it got out, I don't know. The place that they were hiding in, a cave, was sealed, blown up. They said, because I did some digging, probably we shouldn't have, but they tracked that creature to North Carolina, and the collar or the locator they had on it was in North Carolina. They followed it and got to it, and all they found was the collar. It was like an ankle thing, and it was steel, reinforced steel wire braid, and said it was ripped in half and taken off the leg.
Oh, okay. There's a lot there. Oh my God.
Sorry.
No, no. This is awesome. Not really awesome, but so the locator thing that you're talking about, do you feel that's common that they do this with a lot of these creatures?
They've done it for years.
And the cable you said was ripped in half. Do you think that it was the creature that did that, or was that to throw people off?
I would say it probably ripped it off its ankle with some help from other Bigfoot and placed it so it could go back to wherever it wanted to, which was back to my friend's farm.
So when your friends got back from Florida,
Oh no, they never went back. They bought the farm from him. Paid him
the
handsomely
government did?
for the farm. Yeah.
Holy cow.
$4.5 million.
I'm taking that deal.
Well, I would have too, but that's where he raised his kids. He had 4 kids. That's where him and his wife started out at. He bought that farm. He worked the farm, worked in a mill for 25 years, worked in the mill and worked that farm. And they told him, you can't come back. You got to stay there. We will pay you for the farm.
So you said you knew people in the area.
Mm-hmm.
Other than the obvious automatic weapon fire, how else was the area cleaned up, or do you know?
Well, I'm telling on myself here. I went in there and checked it out afterwards. And There was nothing there. Nothing. The only thing that could tell you that something happened there was that cave was sealed. The front of it was collapsed. So it took something to collapse it. And there's only 2 helicopters I know in the world that could have done that.
Do you think though that maybe they could have just brought in like a demolition team or something like that?
No, there was marks of bullets hitting the front of that cave.
Okay.
But everything else was cleaned up. There was no camper left there. That was gone. The pickup was gone. They loaded up all the cattle and sold them or whatever and sent him a check for it.
So this young couple that obviously killed, what did they tell the families?
They have no idea where they are. Don't know nothing about them. Listed as missing. Yeah. That's pretty crappy to do somebody like that.
Yeah. Why do you think that they cover these creatures up?
It's all about money. If Bigfoot and I've had this argument and I've had a discussion with scientists, I've had this discussion with other Bigfooters, people that are, in the know, and the few people that I do know in government have always said, think about it. If Bigfoot is found to be true, what's the first thing that's going to happen? Somebody's going to run to court and slap an injunction on the federal government to where they can't deal with these creatures anymore. And then when that happens, then they're going to have to somebody's going to win a court case, major court case. It'll probably be in the Supreme Court. If it ever happens, it'll be in the Supreme Court. And once that happens, all hands are off. You can't touch them. They're going to be listed as an endangered species. They'll have to set aside areas for them, national forest. Nobody gets to go hiking, fishing, biking, hunting. No more logging, no more drilling for oil, no more drilling for natural gas, mining. None of that stuff's going to happen where they have to set these aside. You're talking trillions upon trillions of dollars that is going to be lost by the federal government. Think of all the taxes they get from that stuff, all the user fees. Camping in National Forest, it's $50 a night. How many people camp in a National Forest every year? Millions.
Yeah. Wow. I can't imagine, being the family members of these people.
Yep.
And how you can look them in the face and just say, "Oh, they're missing," when you know damn well what happened.
Well, they don't know. That was the thing. They never knew. They just came and said something happened to them. We can't find them. Is what
I'm
they
talking
were
about
told.
the people that are lying to the family members.
Yeah. They
I
have no
can't
remorse.
imagine being that heartless that you can look a grieving family member in the face and just say, "Yeah, we don't know what happened."
But it's happened for years.
Yeah.
Why would you? Let me ask you this: why would you send in a complete unit of Green Berets looking for one little kid?
You're talking about the Martin case? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why would you send a complete unit in with
Yeah,
everything
because
they need?
that's not something they would normally do. You normally be maybe the National Guard helping out.
Yeah,
Maybe.
maybe.
Usually it's state police or something like that. It's not Green Berets.
Yeah. Why would you send two platoons of Green Beret in? They're there to kill something. They're not there to find this boy. They know what happened. I mean, the family
And didn't they?
saw the kid being carried up a mountainside by some big, hairy looking thing running up the hillside with him.
Yeah. And they did, like, if I remember right, 40 something helicopter searches for that kid.
Yeah.
They don't do that normally. Normally it's, well, we're going to send up the helicopter for a couple days and then we're done. Um, we may search for a week, and then after that, it just dwindles down to where it's family and maybe some sympathetic
Yeah.
police officers or things like that. But that if I remember right, that's still like the biggest search and rescue operation in the United States history,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't find anything.
How would you like to be the guy that was out in, oh, shoot, where was he at? He was out near Gunnison, Colorado. Was camping in a truck camper, trout fishing, disappeared, and they found his boots 10 miles away above snow line. How did they get there?
Yeah, yeah. Then there was another little boy.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say that was out maybe in Colorado as well, uh, in that area. It was in the Rockies where um, they found his clothes like several weeks later or months later, and the shoes weren't dirty. They were folded, and they were on this like ledge where they had searched that entire area several times, and then all of a sudden his shoes and his clothes just show up magically. It's like, wh- ho- how is this? How are people still saying that these creatures don't exist and that they're not intelligent?
Well, I can speak to you about their intelligence because I watched the Klan for 5 years here in West Virginia, up in Randolph County. And it took me 3 months of going there 3 times a week to gain their confidence. I never tried to harm them. I never carried a firearm, nothing. And the hardest one to gain the confidence of was the big female, the alpha female. She had a little one. And anytime that little one was outside, she was outside. And she would look right dead at me from across the hall. Through the air, it may have been 7,500 yards. And I'm sitting there with binoculars, you know, 10 power binoculars, and I'm watching everything these creatures are doing. And the big male would walk me out at night. He accepted me being there because I never ever tried to harm him. But she was very leery about me. I wasn't doing anything to him. And I watched him grow from when I first found him from 5 to 9 in 5 years. And
You're saying 5 to 9 feet.
no, from 5 members to 9 members.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like small ones growing 5 to 9 feet.
No,
You're,
no.
oh, holy cow! So they have a pretty short breeding cycle then.
No, they wasn't bred. They went out. They would disappear for a month or 2 months at a time, and when they came back, year one they never left. Year two they left, and it was February, the end of February, and at the end of March they showed back up because I was still going there 3 times a week, every week, and they showed back up at the end of March, and they had one more, and it was another
So
male.
they're accepting other ones into their clan.
Right. And then the next year they left at the beginning of March and came back right around the beginning of April. And they had 2 more. And then the fourth year they left beginning of April and came back at the end of July and had 1 more member. Now it made them 9. And in the 5th year that I watched them, they left because somebody cut a road up the other hill and put a house in, and they left.
Wow.
When the house was being built, they left. I watched him go down. This one male, his job he'd go down and get water out of this creek. There was a pool down there that was probably 4 feet deep, and he would take a log. I guess they'd hauled out a log, and he would take it down there and fill it up and bring it back up. And then at noon, he'd go down and get another one, bring it back up. And then he'd do a third one in the evening. They would hunt at night. I don't know what they were hunting, but they would hunt every other night.
So you feel like they hollowed out a log or something. Do you feel that they use like stone tools?
Yeah, and they use fire. Because I saw smoke coming from that cave on multiple occasions.
Really?
Especially in the wintertime.
And see, you're telling me stuff that's just completely changing my view on these creatures, because everything I've ever heard, they don't use tools, and you're the first person I've ever heard, other than on mountain monsters, that they use fire.
Well, the guys that Trapper, I've known Trapper for years. I
Really?
met Trapper 25 years ago at a bear bay. And I met, what's his name? The Marine, the bald guy.
Wild Bill?
Wild Bill. I met him 2 or 3 years after meeting Trapper. And we got to talking. I got to talking to Trapper one
guy?
year. Yep. I got to talking to him and Trapper one year about cryptids. And I was already into the cryptids. I was already into Bigfoot. And me and Trapper, we sit and talk for about 5 hours. The event had ended, and we still sat there for another 2 hours talking about Bigfoot.
You bring up cryptids in general.
Mm-hmm.
You told me that you have also seen Dogman.
Yeah. Don't want to see no more of them.
You want to go into those encounters real quick?
Yeah, sure. Back when I was working for a guy hauling hay, he sent me and 3 truck drivers and 2 other helpers, 6 of us, to this guy's farm. He wanted clover hay for his sheep. Now, we were told he had 200 sheep on his property. And when we got there, he said he didn't know if he needed all 3 trucks. Now, each truck had about 500 bales of clover hay on them. So right about 1,500 bales. I talked to him for a little bit, and he finally told me, he said, half of my sheep are dead. What? Yeah, something killed a half of them last night. That's 100 head of sheep.
Holy cow.
I said, what do you mean they killed them? He said, their heads are ripped off. They're gutted. Legs are ripped off. Destroyed them. Just killed them. Sheep are not a very smart animal. But here's the problem. He had 5 big fields, and they were all connected, and all of them had barbed wire on the outside of them. One huge field is what it made. And in
So like individual paddocks.
Right. In the field, he had a certain amount of acres where he would put a certain amount of sheep, let them feed on that, be another one down at the lower end, and up here, he had them all, 20 or 30 head in each one. And he went out that morning, and half his sheep were dead. So we unloaded 3 truckloads of hay. And I said, what do you think killed him? He said, I don't know. I said, well, and I started talking to him because we got done, and I had the boss's truck, pickup. And the other guys left in the big trucks. And I was talking to him, and I told him, I said, show me these sheep. And he took me out there and he showed them to me. Now, he had hands that were gathering them up and throwing them, burying them. He didn't know what killed these. And these things were ripped apart. Like something would just grab it by the head, just rip it apart. And I said, well, I don't know how to bring this up to you, but I know about Bigfoot. This could be a Bigfoot thing. Can you come back? Yeah, I can come back next weekend, next Saturday. This is a Friday. He wanted me to come back the following Saturday. Not the next day, but a week after that Saturday. I went back. I went looking. I found very little sign of Bigfoot. The only sign that I found that could have been Bigfoot was huge X's halfway down the hillside. And when I said huge, I'm talking about trees that are 30 to 40 feet tall.
Holy cow.
And they're put into an X. And I found 5 of those. 5 X's. But when I went below those X's, I never found a Bigfoot track, nothing in there. So I went up and over the hill and come out through the other fields and came through back to leave because I didn't find that much Bigfoot sign. And when I was leaving, I stopped at the last field, and it's about 100 yards away. I saw something standing there, and I had my rifle. And I threw the scope up, turned it all the way up to 18 power, and I'm looking at something that looks like a dog standing on 2 legs. Looked like a German Shepherd in the face. And it's standing on 2 hind legs, 6.5, 7 foot tall.
Were the ears on top or on the side?
On the top. Just like a dog.
You hear different reports on that.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, the ears on top make more sense for a dogman creature. Now, if it was on the side, I would think werewolf. That's just my opinion.
Well, I saw one of those.
You saw a werewolf?
Yeah. If you remember the movie Underworld,
Yeah.
the big, muscular black guy that was on there, when he changed, It's exactly what that thing looked like.
Where'd you see this?
Same place.
Really? It was all part of like the same pack?
I would say so. I would say it was probably the leader because I went back the following weekend. Now, I went there 3 Saturdays in a row. That first Saturday, I saw the one that looked like a German Shepherd. The second Saturday, I did the same thing. I looked around, went down into that hollow, and that hollow felt like death, like I was surrounded by death. I came back out of there and sat on the other side of the field from where that first one was at and watched another one come out that looked more like a coyote than it did a dog. Like the head looked like a coyote head with ears on top and everything. Same color as a coyote. And the first one was a gray and a black mix, like shepherds are. And then on the third weekend, I didn't even go look. I just went over there and hid myself, was in full camo, face paint, everything. No white, no eyes, no nothing shining. Had a face mask on and everything. I sat there for 8 hours. And right about 3 o'clock, this creature walked out. And it walked up to where those other two had been standing the previous 2 weeks and looked directly at me. I'm looking through a 6x18 loophole scope at this creature. And it's like it's staring through the scope at me.
So you feel like it knew you were there then?
It knew I was there. And it growled and howled. And when it howled, it sent chills through me. That was the only time, well, it wasn't the only time, but one of the very few times I've ever been scared.
Can you describe the howl?
The long wolf howl, how they but about 10 times louder. And when it quit, it just it squared up with me like, go ahead, shoot me.
Were you tempted?
Very much so. But I had a feeling that I didn't have a big enough gun.
Yeah.
No, it's a 300
I don't think
Win.
I've ever heard. I don't think I've ever heard of anybody taking down a dog man. Like I haven't taken an account personally.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody that I've talked to or have heard, if they try shooting these things, it's like they're bulletproof.
Well, they're not bulletproof.
I take that back. I did hear one, and I believe it was in Ohio, where it was 2 guys hunting, and it was 2 brothers,
Mm-hmm.
and the one brother looked over and saw his other brother, this dogman creature, running at him, at his brother. His brother's unloading on the thing, and he ends up hitting it in the temple and taking it down. Yeah, I do remember that one. So I have to take back what I said. They aren't bulletproof, but a lot of times you do hear about people shooting them center mass and nothing happens.
Well, it's the same as if you shoot a Bigfoot center mass. You're in a world, and
There's just so much there. It'd be like trying to shoot an elephant. You know, there's so much muscle and just mass that the guns that most people have for hunting aren't big enough.
no, they're not. Hey,
So
A Bigfoot.
Yeah, go.
The only way I would ever shoot a Bigfoot is in the head. The only way I'd shoot a dogman is in the head.
Yeah.
That's me.
Right.
I've
Right.
talked to too many people. Excuse me. I've talked to way too many military guys that have been on teams, and they said you will not believe how many rounds we have to expend to take one down.
Yeah. Well, Old Bear, we're at about another hour here. I would love to have you back on though. We'll talk after we get done recording here. Is there anything else that you would like to tell everybody? Maybe how to get a hold of you. If I don't know if you really want people to get a hold of you, but if any closing words for my audience.
I will say this: if you want to get in touch with me, you can reach me through YouTube, my channel, and I have an email. It's oldbearsden2019@gmail.com. And the thing that I want to tell everybody is Bigfoot is not a cute, cuddly thing. It is a creature. It is very highly intelligent. And if they get upset with you, the best thing to do is to leave the area. I go Bigfooting with my wife. She's armed, and I'm armed. For the simple fact is, you never know what you may make some stupid mistake and they get upset and want to charge you. I've been charged. That's not no fun. You got to treat these creatures like they are very highly intelligent, but they have a hierarchy. And if you upset the alpha female or the alpha male, you're dealing with the whole clan. You're not dealing with just them. So please be careful when you go out. If you go Bigfooting, be real careful. If you're out camping, be real careful.
Yeah, and that goes anytime you go into the forest, whether it's Bigfoot or not. Don't go out there and take it lightly. Be prepared. Don't go out if you're planning on being there for a day, plan on being there for 3 days.
Yeah.
Always be over prepared when you go out into the woods. Even my wife and I, we go camping on our family farm. We always take extra. We plan for what if. Always plan for the what if. Don't go out, even if you've been in the area, hundreds of times. It only takes that one time where
Yep.
something goes wrong and you are not prepared. You've got to prepare for the unexpected, basically. But Old Bear, I do appreciate you coming on. Stick around after we get done here, talk a little bit more.
Okay.
And if you've had a paranormal encounter you'd like to share, you can email me at mythsandmullets@gmail.com. Find me on Facebook, TikTok, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere you find your podcast. I'll talk to you later. Gotta go. Once again, thanks to Elite Mounts for the new episode format. If you like this format better than the way I was doing it before, where we do the housekeeping here at the end, let me know in the comments. Make sure you're checking out all the descriptions on all my videos. Down below, you're going to find a list of all my favorite podcasts. Nevermore Hollows, Drunken Cryptids, Chumming with the Spirits, Ghost Gossip. So many great podcasts. I like them. I think you're going to enjoy them. Give them a listen. Myths, Monsters, and Mullets is proud to be a part of Midnight Realm Radio. It's an internet radio station featuring podcasts from the paranormal to true crime that runs 24 hours, 7 days a week. You can find a link down below in the description. I really do appreciate all the support I've been getting over the last couple months. If you haven't yet, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. Like, comment, share, tell a friend about the show. That's the only way we can continue to grow. And once again, if you have a paranormal encounter you'd like to share and you'd like to be on the show, you can email me at mythsandmullets@gmail.com. Good night, everyone.
Shadow in the pines, lurking in the dusky air. Bigfoot stomps through the woods like he don't care. Lights in the sky flash green then blue. Aliens descending with a secret or two. Whispers in the breeze, cold fingers down your spine. Ghosts in the graveyard, twisting through time. Eyes wide open in the dead of night. The myths and monsters giving one hell of a fright. Oh, Myths, Monsters, and Mullets podcast, spinning wild tales of a future and a past. Hosted by John Methenkamp's fiery soul. He takes us where the wild unknown flows. Oh, Myths, Monsters, and Mullets podcast, spinning wild tales of a future and a past. Hosted by John Methenkamp's fiery soul. He takes us where the wild unknown flows. Down by the bayou, you hear a raspy growl. Swamp gas glowing as the coyotes howl. A UFO